Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping away from the usual kind of sources. We're going into something much more personal and, honestly, pretty unsettling.
Yeah.
We've put together 3 really intense personal accounts, all shared by listeners, and they all detail these terrifying experiences that happened, specifically during Christmas.
It's a tough set of stories to get through. I mean, we think of the holidays, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, as these moments of complete safety.
Exactly. Yeah. Sanctuary.
It's family. It's warmth. You let your guard down completely.
And that's our mission here, to unpack these 3 stories that they brutally twist that season of goodwill into real, genuine terror. When our guard is down, what is the through line? What connects these sudden breaches of safety?
Well, you have to look at the power of the contrast. The cozy, safe expectation of a holiday. It creates this kind of psychological blind spot.
Okay.
So when an intrusion or violence or this kind of calculated betrayal happens, then it becomes so much more traumatic. It's the invasion of something you thought was certain.
Let's unpack that, starting with maybe the most direct and shocking physical violation. A story that's all about noise and a really violent discovery. It takes place on Christmas Eve night, big family party going on. And the narrator, who was about 12 at the time, gets sent into this isolated part of the house.
And the layout here is it's so critical. The whole family's upstairs. They're celebrating. There's noise from dinner being made. It's almost like a sound shield.
Yeah.
And it leaves one area totally alone, the basement, which for them was just a pantry and a storage area.
So the narrator's mom needs the stuffing for the duck, and the 12-year-old is the one sent to go get it. Once they're down there, behind this small basement bar, they see a shape.
Just a lump.
A lump, yeah, covered with a blanket, right next to an old sofa.
And the first reaction is, it's pure kid logic, right? Holiday mischief.
100%. The narrator thinks it's one of the older cousins, Chris or Valerie, hiding to pull like a cheap jump scare. They even think they can see the outline of a head.
That's the cognitive armor failing right there. You assume any threat in a safe place must be a game. It has to be a joke.
And this is where the fake prank, gives perfect cover to the real threat. All of a sudden, the basement lights just click off, and the outside basement door slams shut.
Wow.
The narrator yells, "Screw you," because they're still absolutely convinced it's the cousins upstairs, locking him in the darkest part of the joke. So they decide to play along. And they tiptoe over to the blanket to scare whoever's under it first.
And that assumption of safety is about to just completely evaporate.
Instantly. They rip the blanket off, ready to scream, "Gotcha," or something, but there's nothing there. It's empty. And in that split second of confusion, a really strong adult grip clamps down hard on their neck.
Oh, man.
A grown man's grip. The kid screams for their life. The upstairs door flies open, lights flick on, everyone's rushing down the stairs, and it reveals this old, dirty, disheveled-looking man.
And he lets go.
Immediately. He lets go of the child and just bolts, runs straight out the back basement door into the yard.
And he's gone.
The uncles chased him for a long time, but yeah, he was gone. The police came, and they offered the most logical, but really unsatisfying theory. A homeless squatter hiding from the cold.
But the violence is what doesn't fit. Why grab the child's neck? I mean, if you're just seeking shelter, your goal is to stay hidden, avoid being found. The second he grabs the kid, his intent switches from survival to aggression, to threat control.
It's so chilling how the cousins, with their harmless little joke, they accidentally created the perfect cover. The darkness and confusion the squatters needed to try and subdue the only witness.
Yeah.
And the narrator's takeaway from it all, this really painful lesson, was the need to lock every single entrance, even the internal ones, to unused rooms. A lesson learned in the absolute hardest way possible.
That knowledge came at the price of real physical terror. What this story really shows is how the very comfort of the holidays can create these little pockets of vulnerability that people they're just quick to exploit.
So if that first story was all about noise and violence, let's jump to the third account. It's a breach that is defined by the total opposite, by absolute silence.
Okay.
We're moving forward a few years to Christmas night 2021 up in Vermont. The narrator, an adult this time, is asleep on a pull-out couch in the living room, right by a dying fireplace.
And that scene is it's so vulnerable. The fire's going out, the Christmas tree lights are off, the room is pitch black. That state of being half asleep, relaxed, exposed, it's the ultimate contrast to the threat.
And this is where the psychological terror just gets dialed up to the max. The narrator's asleep, dreaming about being with family, and then in the dream, everyone just stops talking. They look right at the narrator, and their Aunt Melissa says in this really serious, urgent voice, "There's someone in the house, wake up."
That's the primal alert system. The body's alarm just overriding the dream state. The brain registered something the conscious mind didn't.
Wakes up instantly, heart hammering, feeling just deeply disturbed. And then they get the proof. They heard a distinct creak from where the kitchen meets the living room.
Oh.
Even in the total darkness, they thought they could just make out a silent, shadowy silhouette standing right there in the doorway.
And what did they do?
They called out, thinking it must be a family member, but just silence. The figure stood completely still for a second, and then it started moving. Not fast, just silently. Toward the back door. The only sound they heard was that door closing.
So they go outside.
The family throws on coats, they rush out into the freezing cold with flashlights, and what they find is it's so compelling. A clear set of footprints in the fresh snow, leading away from the house and into the woods at 2 a.m.
And that leaves this huge analytical question, which the source never answers. Why was he there? Nothing of value is missing. This wasn't a thief looking for gifts or electronics. So when the intrusion is just about being there, about presence, it suggests something much darker than just a simple crime. Was it a robbery that got interrupted? Or was this person getting something else just from the act of being inside watching?
The police followed the tracks until they just disappeared. Would have confirmed it. They weren't dreaming. Someone was inside their home watching them on Christmas night.
So you have the squatter and the silent man. Both exploited the relaxed holiday state of the home. One was loud and aggressive, the other was terrifyingly quiet.
Okay, now let's transition. We've talked about physical breaches from outsiders. Now we have to look at something way more insidious. This is the insider threat, our second account, all about a profound invasion of trust.
This one is hard because the family was already vulnerable. The narrator is a child, and their mother had passed away. So the father is dating a new woman, Sidney, who is spending Christmas weekend with them.
Trying to integrate into the family at this really, emotionally charged time. Yeah. The child was at that age where they were skeptical about Santa. So around midnight, they sneak out of their room to see if presents have shown up. They creep into the living room, and it's only lit by the Christmas tree lights, and they see Sidney underneath the tree.
And she's not acting like someone putting out presents.
Not at all. She's shaking gifts. She's digging through a gift bag, pulling out makeup meant for the narrator's sister. Which is weird. It's nosy, but it's just the start.
Just the beginning.
The child keeps watching from the shadows. And Sidney walks over to the kitchen, goes straight for the father's wallet on the counter, and takes out cash, specifically $60, and tucks it into her pajama pocket.
Okay, so that's simple theft. It's petty. But what she does next is what elevates this to a calculated threat. It's what makes the story so chilling.
Yeah. She walks to the medicine cabinet, takes out the father's prescription medication bottle. The child watches her open it, sniff it, look at the pills. She's analyzing it, checking the hallway to make sure no one sees her.
She's planning something far more malicious than just stealing a few bucks.
And that's the moment she looks up and sees the child, standing there, watching her.
Her reaction says it all.
Her eyes go wide. She shoves the bottle back in the cabinet and she hurries over to the child. And in this angry whisper, she immediately starts lying.
What's the lie?
I just wanted to make sure my dad was taking his medication.
But the anger in her voice, it's not concern, it's anger at being caught.
Of course.
The next morning, the dad notices the $60 is missing, and he immediately thinks one of the kids took it. The narrator eventually tells him the whole story, but, he's skeptical. It's his new partner.
So what was the tipping point? What made him believe the child?
It was that specific detail about the prescription. A kid might make up a story about money, but they wouldn't invent that detail. Her sniffing the pills, checking the dosage, that was the concrete fact that hinted at something else. Manipulation, maybe harm, control over their father's health. That's what made him believe his child.
I see. And the climax happens later that night. The child is so scared, they lock their bedroom door, which is against the house rules. And thank God they did.
Yeah.
Because around the same time as the night before, they hear it.
Don't tell me.
The doorknob on their bedroom door starts jiggling over and over.
Wow. That's vindictive. It confirms her intent was malicious. She wasn't just nosy, she was targeting the witness. The locked door, which should have gotten the kid in trouble, became their last line of defense.
The father, thankfully, he listened. He broke things off with Sidney soon after. But the narrator is just left with that permanent scar.
Yeah.
And the question of what was she actually planning to do with that medicine if she hadn't been caught?
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone through 3 incredibly frightening stories. When we look at them side by side, what does this deep dive really tell us?
I think the common element is the breakdown of security during a domestic ritual.
Right.
In the first and third stories, the safety of the house itself was compromised by outsiders.
Right. They were exploiting the physical porosity of the home while everyone was distracted.
But in the second story, the vulnerability was all internal. Sidney didn't break a lock. She violated the implicit trust you need to bring a new person into the heart of the family. She exploited the porosity of the heart.
And that goes back to what you were saying about cognitive armor. The lesson here isn't just lock your doors. It's about realizing that the emotional pressure of the holidays, the pressure to relax and trust everyone, it actively works against our natural vigilance.
Yes, we are trained to assume innocence during this time of year.
That pressure to assume innocence is what made the 12-year-old think the squatter was a cousin, is what made the dad doubt his own child's story about Sidney.
And in every case, trusting that gut instinct, the fear of the strong grip, the child's alarm about the prescription bottle, the adult waking from that nightmare, that was the only thing that saved them.
So the knowledge we get from these events, it really just reinforces the simplest rules of setting boundaries, doesn't it?
It really does. When you look at all 3, the intruders, the squatter, the partner, they all struck when the families were at their most relaxed, their most predictable. Sleeping, cooking, waiting for Santa, they hit at the peak of trust.
These 3 accounts, the violent squatter, the treacherous partner, and that silent intruder, they show that the real terror isn't just in the crime, it's in the violation of expectation.
It's that sudden, shattering realization that even in your most controlled, most cherished moments of celebration, your sanctuary is fundamentally porous, both physically and emotionally. And that's really the thought we want to leave you with. Where in your life are you letting your guard down, simply because the occasion demands that you assume everything is safe?
Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into these very intense sources. Please make sure to share this discussion and continue exploring the knowledge gained here. We'll see you next time.